I'm in a terrible fucking mood and I feel like throwing up. So I just learned about what's happening to some of the women in Tigray. There was a recent case where a 21-year-old woman was taken to a military base and with like by I think like 10 Eritrean soldiers, and it was full of women, and she was raped every single day there for like 6 weeks. And even allegedly what happened to her is that one of the military soldiers stomped on her head so hard that like repeatedly until her she started bleeding out of both ears. And they did terrible things to this woman and to all the other women there. They were shoving random metal items and they were shoving in metal screws and nail clippers and trash and garbage. They were making handwritten letters and wrapping them in plastic and shoving them inside these women. And then they would rape the women, all of them collectively, so hard that they would find like nail clippers or metal tools inside of the women's uteruses because they hated the women so much. And they just were like, you know what, we do not want them to reproduce. And this was happening in Tigray, or like two women from Tigray, if I recall correctly. And I'm disturbed. I was just talking to someone the other day. It was this white woman, and she was telling me all about like how she knows a lot about the war, especially like the effects the war has on women. And I was talking to her, and I was like, yes, I am very interested in that topic because it's something I'm terrified about, especially with the verge of World War III. And we know how the world has treated women when like we're seen as like disposable spoils of war. And if you get raped or abused or traumatized, they don't see you as someone who needs to be taken care of and like nursed back to health and like cherished and appreciated. They see you as like they see you as damaged goods. They see you as tarnishments on your country. Even though it happened to you, what happened was terrible and traumatic, they just see you as things that need to be hidden or killed. They will dismiss what happened to you. They will hide what happened to you in the history books. No one talks about it. Everyone wants to talk about how great soldiers are and what male soldiers have gone through, but they don't want to talk about what the fuck they did to the women in other countries or even their own home country. And it's just, and it's like I even talked to her about the book The Rape of Nanking. I'll put it this way: I haven't read the full book. I know one day I want to, but the details are so graphic. Like for example, what I just heard a bit ago about what's happening to women in Tigray, that was just it's like it's not even 11:45 a.m. I just saw that casually on an Instagram post, and I really want to throw up. That fucked up my entire day. I was in a great mood this morning, and that fucked up my entire day. It was a reminder that if I just was born in a different country, yeah, like, or actually, hell, I was just born with a pussy in a country that has evil men, and that any day this could happen to someone like me, or to someone I know, or to millions of women, and there's nothing we could do to stop it, or is there? And I want to throw up so bad. But in the Rape of Nanking story, pardon me, this story is going to get really graphic. So allegedly, I forget which I failed history class a bunch of times, or at least I didn't pass certain parts. Like I was a C minus student, but one can blame that on like the shitty teachers. In high school, I was really good at history. Shout out to Mr. Marin, good teacher for the most part. Yeah, he was a good teacher. I remember specifically the story of the Rape of Nanking. There are excerpts about like how children and women, and it didn't matter your gender, it like if they saw you as rapeable, you were getting raped. And so if I don't even want to say the next part, let's just say if you were a soldier who was sadistic and you and your buddies found someone who was way too young to even think about sodomizing, but you still wanted to, you would take a knife and you would make a hole yourself. And that's the only way I can say that sentence without immediately throwing up and killing myself. This is why, if you're a man who's out here in the streets and you're talking about, like, ooh, women need to be nicer to men, no, the fuck we don't. Like, because misandry is like, it's like, okay, a woman might, like, use you for a drink or some chicken wings in a nightclub or something. Boo hoo. Misogyny, like, misogyny is the reason I can't go out during the winter months. Because once it hits past 3 p.m., a world of dangers will unlock for all the rest of the hours of the day for me, and won't stop until maybe like 8 a.m. the next morning. Because you never know what a man can do to you. Anyone for that matter, but especially a man. Some sick people in this world. And I guess it's disturbing is that some of these niggas, like, just freely got to, like, rape, like, just do terrible things in another country. Like, some dude out there with a wife and kid back at home went to, like, Japan or Korea or Vietnam or to like a European country, and he got to brutally sodomize and torture a woman, like, and then her kids, regardless of age, regardless of gender, and go back home and get himself like a flag or a fucking medal and a Camaro. It's fucking disgusting. Shout out to the people that I know that would sooner serve crack before they serve this country. I respect that. You know, it's like, and I don't even like drugs, but you can imagine that I hate war more than I could ever hate drugs. It's like, you know what? Sell that crack if you need to. Do whatever you. I don't just know. But I know it's not even just about our own country at home. It's about like, it's just like a societal thing. In fact, what's disgusting is I've met men, like, I usually see it as kind of like a red flag if a man knows too much about certain world wars, but it depends on which war he's fascinated in. If he's fascinated in the Hitler era, those are usually the ones who are kind of like chill. If it's the Confederacy era, those dudes are also pretty chill because they're the type of people that'll be like, "Hey, did you know that Hitler was actually inspired by how the American South treated black people during segregation times?" And like during slavery times, he was inspired from like all the shit that they went through, and that's how he thought of the Holocaust. He was like, you know what, let's take inspiration on how to like get the masses on our side for that. It's like, I appreciate when I meet people who are like, who research about war, but they're willing, like, there's two types of people. There's the idiots who are like, I love war. Did you know I'm a descendant of Genghis Khan? Did you know he treated his wife really well? Like, sure, he was out there having sex and raping endless people all the time. So much that almost everyone's related to Genghis Khan. But you know what? He treated his wives extra special. It's like, no one likes when I bring. It's like, you think he was just consensually having sex with all those women? But yeah, if you say that to an Asian person or to specifically a Mongolian person, they will just get very mad at you. Whatever. I don't. It's like it's your history, whatever. But I'm gonna be like, I don't know, nigga. That's kind of like, and I can tell someone's gonna throw stones at me in the comments. But I'm gonna. I'm just saying. Now, get mad at me if you want, but you have to think. Okay, are you mad at me because it's true, or are you mad at me because maybe I didn't pass history class? Or, but all I know is the American education system, they taught me that Genghis Khan was not exactly the most consensual man in this planet. I'm just saying. Don't fucking murder me. I already said I got a C minus in history, but still. But regardless, the nigga was out here doing all sorts of fucked up conquests, and it's like, it's known as a tactic for like armies to engage in mass rape. And it's actually enabled because, how do I put this? Usually it's like a deliberate tactic because then you can terrorize people into submission. Like, you know, if you see it happening to your mother, to your brother, to your sister, to your cousin, to all the people you love, and you know it's like you like, it's kind of like seen as like a pre-planned punishment. Like, a it's sick, like we need to hurt you first, deliver the punishment first before you even done anything, so that then you know better than to fuck with us and to let us do anything we want going forward, or just to intentionally as an act of genocide. Some people, I remember, they talked about this one woman on the internet. I remember her. She is not a historian, but she did mention herself that allegedly, you know, with the Vikings and shit, the whole reason, like, allegedly, I remember I heard Vikings were allegedly stinky as shit and just terrible. Like, they were the niggas back home who were just like shitty as fuck. Like untamed wild beasts who had like no parents or shitty ass parents who enabled them. And they would be terrible to the women. They'd be like fucking lazy, incompetent, stupid, just the most idiotic motherfuckers you can think of. And so the kings thought of a plan. They were like, hey, how about we make all these dumbass niggas soldiers to fight for us? Hey, did you know that if you fight in our army, you get a cool sword, a really cool hat with horns on it, and you get to rape a bunch of women? However you want, even some men. What happens in Asia stays in Asia. What happens in Europe, that other fucking part of Europe we hate, stays in Europe. And they had that mindset. So then they were like, I bet. And allegedly, don't kill me. That's how we got Vikings. Or at least that, like, honestly, I think that happens in America too. That's why so many people just sweep shit under the rug whenever like a woman soldier goes missing or gets raped or something. Like, they just sweep it under the rug because they think to themselves, it's like, like, we need to let it happen. They think to themselves, we have to let this shit happen. It's very, very important. Like, because how do I put this? It's like, sure, you could dismantle a bunch of misogyny and stuff and blah 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 and jail men for their crimes, but then they wouldn't be able to, like, I don't know, be shipped off to a random ass country to, like, genocide a bunch of people in exchange for, like, nothing but a Camaro and, like, discounted Section 8 housing. Like, it's like you need niggas to get their arms blown off so that you can make a shit ton of money from stealing oil from other countries. You know what I mean? Like, these sickos are like, you know what? I need to go check out Palestine and all these beautiful ass cultures all around the world. And you know what they really need? We need like 10 million gas stations, a bunch of McDonald's, and like a bunch of women who got raped who then become prostitutes or die for the sake of our pleasure. Like, it's really like a cultural thing. And also, if you get to destroy somebody or like a bunch of women, like, how do I put this? Think about it. If a woman gets like even raped once by one guy, she is seen as like a harlot or a seductress or trying to ruin his life, or at absolute, like, just seen as like used goods, damaged, like tainted, all sorts of disgusting shit that I am very much against people promoting. But if you specifically, like, so imagine how someone would be like if some of these assholes, they would hear a woman has been raped by like hundreds of soldiers at a military base for 6 weeks and tormented and abused and basically put in some jigsaw level trap contraptions and tortured for some sort of sick reasons of genocide or whatever the fuck reasons, like just because some niggas had time on their hands and just felt like doing it. And they will sit there and be like, oh, well, she should have been safer. It was her fault for being outside. Like, why was she hanging out with those men? Or they will even just say, like, ew, sucks for her, not my problem. And some of the, like, in some countries, it's really bad. They'll kill you for being sodomized. They see you as, like, as no, like, as impure. They won't give you a job. You can't work in certain places. They'll just say fuck you and everything that happened to you. They'll make your life worse. And so then you can't even come back for that. It's like, and then it's like what? It's like your options are prostitution and death. Terrible. The world is a very mean place to women, like, historically. To everybody, but especially women. Like, instead of being seen as a person worthy of respect, you're seen as a disposable spoil of war, as a reward for someone committing harm. It's fucking sick. It's terrible. Also, I'm gonna say it, I said it before, there's two types of men about war. There's the ones who give a shit about war in the sense of we should not be doing this. Look up the nuclear bomb, look up what the fucking CIA does, look up this, look up that, like, unravel certain mindsets. Try. And then there's the other types who are like, ooh, if I were a Mongol in Genghis Khan's era, I would have a sword and I would be so cool and amazing. I would do whatever I wanted. It's like, we get it, nigga. You want to be a rapist. Funny enough, that same nigga, or not funny, but coincidentally, that same nigga, I remember on the second date, he just casually told me how he worked as a bartender, and his other bartender buddy was just like, oh, hey, the rich people here, like, they basically pay me like $50 per girl that I roofie the drink of so they can take her home. And then, and I remember the guy I was on a date with, he specifically was like, he showed me the vial and everything. Like, and he talked about how he was just shown the little vial of, like, roofies or whatever. You niggas need to be fucking killed. Like, how do I put this? Well, it's a fucked up world where it's like niggas who just openly are like, yeah, we could just fucking drug and rape women and torture them and put them in the torment nexus and all that shit. Just fucking, just totally atrocious, terrible actions to these women. They don't get any harm. They don't. And then as for me, it's like, or as for any, like, a woman could have consensually have sex and suddenly her whole life is over. Or unconsensually be violated and tortured, and then she's just told, don't come back home, you need to kill yourself to save our honor type shit. It's disturbing. What do you even do in that situation? I guess I'm blessed enough where I'm in a country where you can have guns. That's a blessing. And it's one of the, it was like, I think I should be okay. For now. I got a crossbow. But even then, it's like, that, like, I don't want to talk about hypotheticals because this whole conversation is making me dizzy. But I'll just say it. It's sick. And I'm scared of, like, well, I'm not scared, but, like, you never know. What if one day a war comes and we can't stop it? Or what if what like I'm afraid to travel because what if I travel and a war starts and then next thing you know I'm like one of those black people that got abandoned and didn't get let on the train in Ukraine simply because of my skin color? Or what if I decide to visit a country that I thought was beautiful like Ethiopia or like I don't know Brazil or I don't know anywhere and then next thing you know I'm stuck in the country and I'm getting bombed or I'm getting sodomized and I don't just the world is a very scary place and it's especially scary if you're a woman and if you're black or indigenous and gay and just it's one of those things where it's like where the fuck can you go to be safe. I don't like war. I think it's stupid in so many reasons. Like, and hey, I did date that one asshole, ironically a rapist, guy last year who was a part of the military. His tale as old as time. He was like army or some shit, loser ass nigga. But I remember with him specifically, like, he did mention like the shit they go through in the war to kind of like tenderize you. And I remember the specific fucking way that people like he just talked about all the shit that they did, like how it was normal for them to make you stay awake for like 24 or I think at maximum I forget the maximum might have been like 48 or 72 hours. All I know is they would make you stand in the cold, standing up straight, back pressed against a wall. You had to stare at the field endlessly, 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 and like you had to remember not to not lock your knees or whatever, or else you would absolutely eat shit in front of everyone else, and everyone had to not laugh at you, or else you'd get punished for laughing, and everyone gets punished, and all the terrible shit that would happen to you in the military, like even at best. So it's like sleep deprivation, starvation, shitty foods, all this, and it's like you're just the most bare minimum grimy terrible shit. I don't know. It's just like that nigga went to war or into the military allegedly just because he wanted to make money to support his kid. Allegedly. I don't know if I fully believe that. He's a disgusting asshole and he's a liar. And if I could, I'd beat his fucking ass. And I could beat his ass. I don't give a fuck if he's military. I would win that fucking fight. I would bite his fucking face off. And you can tell I mean it because my mood just actually lifted at the idea of doing that. Like a fucking Honeycrisp apple. You know what I mean? Anyway, sorry. I got a little distracted, obviously. Yeah, but what was I saying? Yeah, it's just like I'll put it this way: he got ejected from the military, army, whatever the fuck, because eventually he just was like, "Fuck this shit." He got suicidal and depressed for a lot of reasons, and he thought, I'm either gonna kill myself, or I could do coke, and he did coke, knowing that he was gonna get ejected. And if I recall, they punished the shit out of them before he got ejected from the military or whatever. It's like but it's like what that like then he decided to work a simple job at a t-shirt printing company. Smart call. He's an asshole though, and I wish the worst for him, but it's like I will at least, it's like you did coke, you got your ass kicked by a bunch of military dudes for it, and then you got kicked out, and now you have like a nice stable peaceful job where you don't have to like be tormented all the time. Cool. But yeah, disgusting man, I hate him still regardless. But as I was gonna say, fuck colonizing. Also, now that I think about it, why would he not just work? It's like I'm just saying, it's like working at McDonald's before the military. Cause it's like, why would you work for the fucking army? Like, in fact, I remember when I was 18, I got with this dude who was like 29, ew, and he was a part of the army as well. And I remember he talked about how he didn't have to pay for rent or whatever, and he like the government paid for his rent, but the government had him living in fucking section 8, no, like transitional housing. So it wasn't good housing. It was one of those places where you think that you're in some sort of like saw trap, like literally, like that fucking cold ass room they're in the first Saw movie. It was like that, but then imagine it's just like one single like gray little bed frame, and the room's also like half the size of the saw trap room. No, like 1/3 the size. It's like a damn near closet. It's like a long, cold hallway, and then there's one single bed in it, and barely enough room to fit a mini fridge and then a microwave on top of that mini fridge. And then the nigga every day has to eat like ramen, and every once in a while he can treat himself with an egg or something that he gets from the clearance section of the grocery store. And it's like It's like, oh, like he did get his college paid for. That was good. But it's like, nigga, you have to wear shoes when you shower because you shower with like 70 other people. You have to walk out of your hallway ass apartment down an even longer hallway and then go to a shitty place where you might get like sodomized in the bathrooms if you don't look over your shoulder enough times. Like, I'm just saying, it's like you were helping out with all this like intelligence stuff that happened in all these other countries. And for what? Like, you were helping some niggas get rich off oil money and you can't even afford to get miso with your ramen. Like, you can't afford fucking miso paste because you're that broke. And I don't know, like he was just. It's like, no offense, I think suicide would have been better. Working a job at McDonald's and would have been better. I like just like student loans would have been better. In fact, he was, I don't know, just I think he should like, in fact, he could have just sold crack and had a much nicer apartment and afforded his little scholarship or his little animation degree at Academy of the Arts, which allegedly is fuck. It's like, you went to war, you went to line the pockets of wealthy men and help bomb oil countries with your coder intelligence, and all you get is some 99-cent packs of ramen, a shitty hallway of an apartment that has like no fucking insulation whatsoever. You didn't even get a Camaro. You don't even have a place to shit in private. All for an arts degree? For a fucking useless ass arts degree? You could have learned animation from like anybody. Like, people will teach you animation for free. You got an arts degree. And we all know that you're not gonna be motherfucking the next Kojima. You're not gonna be the next motherfucking who's the dude from Miyazaki? So what's all this then? I don't know. I'm just saying. Also, army people just are genuinely fucking stupid and unhappy. Like, they're just as you expect. Like, I had another date with this one dude a while back. He was a landlord and in the army. And if you're like, why did you go on a date with that guy? The answer is, I am a misandrist and he was stupid. And I thought to myself, this guy is so terrible that I would not mind making him buy me shit and going out to nice places every now and then. Why? Because, you know what? If I were born in another country, he would not hesitate to do terrible things to me if his government fucking allowed it. So while I'm born in this country and I have the blessings of certain privileges, I'm gonna be like, hello, white man, I'm wearing a shitty wig and a cute little skirt that you don't know I got from Goodwill that you think makes me look luxurious. You are gonna take me to any fancy restaurant I fucking want, and I'm gonna listen to you whine about like how you're sad about Afghanistan and how you had to leave that war. That nigga literally told me he was like the sad part about fighting in Afghanistan was not, killing people. Like, no, that was the easy part. The sad part was knowing that at the end we still lost and had to come home. And it was like, yeah, whatever the fuck that means. I didn't care. I was just was like, I remember it was so funny. I asked him, "Do you believe in like 9/11?" He was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, pause. I said, I know it happened, but like, do you believe the rumors that it truly came, like it wasn't an inside job? He was like, absolutely not. And I just thought to myself, okay, he's one of those. I'm gonna just eat my duck confit in this overpriced ass espresso martini, and I'm gonna have fun listening to this guy be such an insufferable piece of shit. He was an insufferable piece of shit. You couldn't even say something like, "Ah, what a beautiful day, not a single cloud in the sky," without him being like, "Ah, that's what the sky's supposed to do." It's like, shut the fuck up. You're old. Shut the fuck up. Also, that's a clear example of like misandry is just like a dude opening his wallet for a girl who doesn't very much like him because he's a piece of shit. And then misogyny is like, this is a nigga who probably could have easily he was not a good man. Like, some of these, like, I'm just saying, like, misogyny is like, oh, there was nothing wrong with killing. And honestly, if you're fine with the killings, the mindless killings of Afghanistan people, who I doubt the niggas you were killing were soldiers. Let's put it that way. I doubt every single man was just like some soldier. Like, I remember this one movie, they have a scene where it's like, this guy shoots a man with a gun. Like an old man, and he feels kind of bad about it. And then he sees the guy's son come out, and then the guy's son, who's like a younger man, comes out with the gun and then shoots the soldier. or tries to shoot the soldier, but then the soldier gets him first. And then afterwards, the guy's youngest son, who's like 13 in the movie, he comes out. He stares in agony and pain, and then he looks up and he picks up the gun too. And then guess what the American soldier does? Shoots that young man in the head. And it's one of those things where it's like you're supposed to feel bad for the soldier, like that's how the narrative paints it. But deep down, it's like why? It's like, nah, nigga, you should have just. You know what you can do? You cannot shoot a kid. You could just turn around and leave and flee. You're out there sniping fucking multiple generations of a family and getting mad at them for picking up a gun in retaliation to you trying to genocide them for like useless means. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, comfort women, I think, need to be discussed because that type of trauma passes down in generations, and there's like a lot that goes into it. But just, I don't know. Sometimes I just think about how it's like there's a bunch of dudes out here who are just like, yeah, I had to blow the brains out of a bunch of kids in other countries. Yeah, and then like, or if they don't do it, they fantasize about doing it. They want they wish that they were born in like the motherfucking 12,000s, so that they could have had a cool sword and a horse, and then gotten away with like raping and genociding a bunch of people endlessly, and still coming back to their saintly little wife or whatever they can beat the shit out of and get like sex from anytime they wanted to. I don't know. It's just disturbing. You just meet people and it's like, oh, you're that type of man. I do not like that type of man, and the sad thing is that type of man is not all too uncommon, which is why I very much cherish those who learn about the war, all the details in and out, not just about the heroes, because the heroes write the history books. They want to know the true story, like how was it like for the women in the background, the ones who were silenced, the ones who were killed, the people who came from those women later, like the generations of children born from traumatized mothers, the generations of men and girls and women who went through what they went through and now have to live the rest of their lives being shunned by society and having no place for it, and the generational trauma that comes from that. In fact, this is relevant. I forgot to mention. I dated this guy. His name was Chance. He's a lame ass bitch ass nigga, as they usually tend to be. But, you know, when he had his moments, he had his moments. And I remember at some point he was telling me about how his, like, I could tell this story. So I thought he was mixed with black because of certain like things about him, like, and I remember I asked him, I was like, are you mixed with anything? And he was like, oh, actually I am. I'm actually 1/4 Korean. And I was like, oh, okay. You know what, hell yeah. But then later on the conversation got deep and he did talk to me about like his like parents and how they weren't always the best to him, and then like, but especially like, I'll put it this way, his grandparents had a habit of like keeping food even past when it was good out of like fear, and they would always, when he was over, they would feed him like stale tuna that tasted like cat food and would make him sick, and how he has a very strong aversion to types of food and a very sensitive stomach as an adult, and he has gut issues because of like his parents giving him, I mean his grandparents force feeding him like really terrible expired food, and how his grandmother especially, like, you know, she had a hot temper and a lot of rage and a lot of sadness, and I think she was an alcoholic, allegedly, and she went through a lot. Like, she was just one of those people where you never knew when she would lash out at you and lose her fucking mind, and she was a perfectionist and things had to be her way or the highway. But then he said, I think she was a comfort woman back in her day, so I think sadly she was someone who was raped and violated a lot when she was very, very young, and I think that stuck with her, the feeling of powerlessness, and I think she never got over it. Plus, in like, you know, war and stuff, like when that's happening, you don't, like, you know, you have to keep your food supply. You have to make sure everything, you know, you have to. You never know when there's going to be scarcity or pestilence or what can happen. So sometimes you eat food that's not good for you. Sometimes you keep food past when it's longer because you have a scarcity mindset, and because you just, your body just still is like in a war every day, and you want to be prepared in case it ever happens again. It's very sad. Anyway, but it is very tragic what happened to her, if it did happen to her. This was just a theory on his behalf, but he said it aligns with certain time periods and that it's not talked about much for an obvious reason. The world is extremely scary and disgusting to women, to everybody, and I don't think we should be out here harming people just for their gender, the color of their skin, whatever country they just so happen to be born in. And we have a lot of sadistic ass psychopaths on this fucking earth, and it's so disturbing. So if you can do anything, if you can read about wars, if you can watch the tough documentaries and the tough books, and if you are willing to let people who are not the victors tell the tale, then please, please, I implore you to. It's important that history gets passed down. They are trying to stop certain forms of media from being put out now. Movies, documentaries, important books, they're suppressing knowledge because history repeats themselves, and they don't want people to know about what their next game plan is because they plan to make history repeat themselves. So always stay mindful, always care about other people. Care about what happens in Palestine, care about what happened in like Congo and Sudan, and what all these big organizations and tech companies and all these rich motherfuckers are doing, and think about how it fucking affects you. So you know what? If you want to avoid being drafted, and if you're like, I'm gonna start selling crack and being in hiding, or because this is a loophole, you can decide to do drugs. You can be an addict and they won't accept you into the draft. So if you and your buddy really want to avoid the draft and are really dedicated to being good people, then one of your buddies can sell crack and your other one can smoke it, and you could make a lot of really good money from that and afford probably a 10 times better lifestyle than any nigga I've ever met in the army. Like, even one nigga I dated in the army for a little bit, nothing ever happened with him. He had to be a landlord just to make money because being in the army and killing all those Afghanistans still didn't get him shit. I mean, I guess Afghanistans. Sorry, that word's whooping my ass. Afghanistans. I think that's the word. Afghan people. Yeah, sure. Sorry. You still get my point, though. Alright, see you, bye.